atención con un salto también fantástico de este hombre.
But you know, Miles Rockwell, I would say was probably the last of the great American downhillers when, you know, he won Worlds in Spain in 2000.
Curva contra curva, llegamos a la recta final, atención, atención, 3:55:69, está cerca, Miles Rockwell está cerca y lo bate, la prueba del descenso.
And that was it for American downhill racers for a long time, dominance-wise until that Gwin era. So you're 7-8 years later, till he came on the scene, but it wasn't probably 10 until he started doing those Gwin things, which was just shaking the sport like, holy crap. I feel like it's been a while. You know, you had the Aussie invasion, you had the French thing, but one dude just rocking the sport.
In 2008, at Mont Saint Anne, Aaron Gwin turned up from the Yeti regional program and scored a top 10 in his first ever World Cup race. I wasn't there, I didn't have a team that year, but I had riders that I was working with at the time on his team calling me and saying, "Did you hear about that? Did you see that?" Because back then we didn't have the Red Bull live coverage, so you'd have to get it secondhand. To be honest, a lot of people contact me when someone has a standout result, and I put it in the context of North America. Here's a guy that feels comfortable in that continent. Let's see what he does in Europe. Right now, okay, thanks guys, but it wasn't really on my radar. Probably a lot of the other riders had him on their radar, but I wasn't so sure just yet. And if we fast forward a couple of races, I was then in Schladming for the finals, and Aaron was there and he finished top 10 there. He finished 8th, and that's when it clicked. This guy can ride alpine racetracks and he can do Mont Saint Anne. Then he's got it, you know. That's when it clicked for me personally, that this was someone important. And then I discovered his background. You know, he came from the motocross. He'd moved over quite late, and Chris Conroy of Yeti had a sharp eye for this sort of thing and found a talented rider. And by the end of 2009, he was on most people's radar, but still at that point he hadn't won a race, so you knew he could get on the podium. It's just how long was it going to take for him to win a race? And for a team manager that's looking for a race winner to fill out their roster, you have to be pretty sure.
I had great years at Yeti. It was a perfect kind of starting program for me. Yeah, it was a good time there. Had some good results. I feel like I should have had my first World Cup win actually at Val di Sole 2010. Yeah, and I was up on the top time by a couple seconds coming to the bottom. I had a big crash, but I feel like I would have won that race, but it just didn't happen. So I feel like all the pieces were coming together right at the end of that year, and then we had a whole off season, and I moved back here to California, which helped because I was able to train a lot more consistently and kind of be in a familiar area and kind of get my program dialed. I hired John Tomac to be my trainer. The team was really dialed, the bike was dialed, everything was great, and I was just in a place of kind of maturity and fitness and everything where it was all kind of coming together.
We went to training camp. He was looking very hungry. I don't think he went in with the expectation that he would win straight out, but he always goes in to get the very best result possible.
And I felt like I had everything it took. It was just going to take me a few more years of experience and getting my fitness up to shape and kind of learning stuff. There were still kind of missing pieces, but I felt like it was something that was definitely achievable, and it was something that it was a goal of mine for sure. You know, I wanted to try to win races, so yeah, I was happy when it happened.
He had that look on his face when we went to the podium. It was like, yeah, we're on a roll now. This is where we're going. And you could feel it. There was an energy in the team. Him and Tracy on the podium together. Tracy had won there 2 years earlier. It was a great feeling to start the season with that win, but none of us had any idea the domination that was to follow.
Gwin is just on another level at the moment. No one can touch him. 2.113. Aaron Gwin takes his second win of 2011. What are they going to do about him, Cuddy? This is the new kid on the block.
That meant a lot to me personally, and I think for Aaron, they were going nuts. They had someone to pin a flag to. And soon after that, we had Wyndham and all these other things that brought momentum back to American racing. And now the East Coast scene and different things are happening. But back then, it was a bit of a desert. So he broke through that ceiling that hadn't been touched for a long time, really since 2000, since Miles Rockwell won a world title.
Yeah, I didn't actually know that there was never a American World Cup champion until I think it was, I don't know, it was on the table for me to win it, I think. And somebody was like, you know, it's never been done before. And I was like, oh, sweet. So, yeah, it wasn't something I was super aware of, but it was cool. It's always cool to be able to be the first to do something. Yeah. Should have been more than that, too. I messed a few of those up.
Oh, you feel bad about that?
Yeah, well, I crashed out of one, and a few of them I just rode like a dork.
That was a piece of history in itself when Aaron Gwin went and won the overall series, the first American man ever to do that. Mike King had got a second, and Tomac had a second, but no American man had ever won the Downhill World Cup Series in, what are we talking about? We're talking about 19 years. The year that followed, I mean, he was even hungrier. I mean, he was aware now of what he was doing, and yeah, so to win all those races, you know, 9 races in 2 seasons was an amazing feeling.
From American pride standpoint, it was super cool to see and watch, but more importantly, what he is doing from the American side of things is he is, and I see it happening, he is inspiring a new generation of the little guys, you know, like the 8, 9, 10-year-olds, you know, running around the pits in their little kits, like wanting to be like Gwin. So we haven't had that in a while. Sure, you've had American racers for kids to aspire to be and idolize, but they weren't winning and crushing the field like that. That gives you not just hope as an American fan of downhill racing, but just for the sport in general.
I said, oh really? He said, you still can't really talk to him yet, can you? And he said, no. He said, this is your family, and he busted it up. I said, that's what it felt like, yeah. I was proud of everything he did, and he just left me, and that's the bit I didn't get. But now, after we've been together, I understand how it happened, so it makes a lot of sense. So we were in the middle, and there were big generals on horses while we were in the bloody dugouts telling us who to shoot at and what to do, and that's the thing I didn't really enjoy. It was a difficult time, and he wrote back the most generous email that anyone's written to me, and it made me realize that we weren't really the center of that problem that happened at the end of 2012. It was other players, and our friendship was still there. It had been covered up, but it was still there.